My name is Robert B. Talisse. I am W. Alton Jones Professor of Philosophy at Vanderbilt University and Professor of Political Science at Vanderbilt University. The title Overdoing Democracy, I feel, is in danger of being heard as announcing that the book is an anti-democracy book, that the message of the book will be that we ought to do something other than democracy, and we ought to let elites or experts rule us. That's not what the book is about. The book is pro-democracy. So the idea is that even though democracy is the kind of capital good that it is, it's nonetheless possible to overdo it, much in the way that it's possible to overdo other kinds of goods. The society as a whole has become increasingly diverse. At the same time, our local environments, our local spaces have become more politically homogeneous. What that means is that the person next to you at the coffee shop that you get your coffee from in the morning, the person standing behind you in the queue at the grocery store where you buy your groceries, the other people on the subway train that you take to work or on the bus that you take to work, the other parents at your kid's school across the country. It's increasingly likely that these folks who are sharing spaces with you are politically more like you than they used to be. Think about how much of sort of popular political satire, sometimes popular political satire that rises to the level of political critique. Notice how much of it is aimed at ridiculing the political opponent's consumer behavior, right? Talk about the latte drinking liberal, right? Or think about the camouflage wearing conservative. Something about the lifestyle, including the consumer choices, the spaces they inhabit, the kind of car they drive. Do you drive a pickup truck or a hybrid? These are all ways of signaling, communicating, registering your political identity. So polarization is a term that we use often without defining it. So one of the centers, or the centerpiece of the book, is one of the central chapters of the book, is devoted to trying to get clear on what polarization is. And I come down on the following view. Polarization really, it names two different but connected, quite distinct but nonetheless related phenomena. One, which I call in the book political polarization, is a metric of the ideological distance between opposed parties, opposed political parties. And so we can talk about the Congress being polarized. And when we talk about polarization in that political sense, what we're describing is a condition where the representatives of the two parties share nothing, or at most very little in common by way of policy objectives, policy values, and political plans. Now the problem with polarization in that political sense, the problem with political polarization, is deadlock. Democracy needs to get things done, and when the legislature, when the government in general is politically polarized, there's no ground for cooperation or compromise, and therefore every question, every issue, every legislative matter that has to be decided becomes an impossible logjam. So, distinct from political polarization is the second idea, belief polarization. Belief polarization is the name of a robust psychological phenomenon. Belief polarization is not about the ideological difference between two opposed political groups. Belief polarization is rather the psychological phenomenon by which, when we surround ourselves with people who are just like us, we turn into more extreme versions of ourselves. As we belief polarize, we become increasingly intolerant of political disagreement, increasingly unable to see those who disagree with us as reasonable people who happen to have a different view, a view that we think is wrong. But still, they have reasons for their view. As we believe polarize, we become more inclined to think that anyone who disagrees with us is by that very fact depraved and incompetent, and we become more inclined to wonder why or how they could be equal citizens and deserving of an equal say in the democratic process. The positive upshot of the book is a defense of what I call civic friendship. civic friendship is indeed different from ordinary friendship, right? The idea is not that in a democracy we have to be friends, we have to know each other by name. So civic friendship is different from ordinary friendship in that people can be civic friends even though they don't know each other. What I mean by civic friendship is the set of attitudes and dispositions that are required if, as individuals, we're going to meet what I think is a fairly demanding and tricky democratic obligation. Last thing, politics is for something. We can say that democracy is an intrinsic good, but still, democracy is good in part because it helps us achieve other things that are good. And some of those other things are not political at all. We think it's important to secure a stable, decent, democratic society so that we might spend time during our waking lives achieving other things that are good. So the book is about how to do democracy better, not about ceding democracy over to some other kind of political arrangement. It makes us bad at democracy when all we do together is our democratic politics. Just like it makes our pursuit of physical fitness pathological when we pursue it at the expense of every other thing that's good in a life. So the proposal of the book is that we have to find things to do together that are cooperative, that are socially positive, but are nonetheless not infected with our political loyalties, that have no political valence whatsoever.